Hello everyone, Luke here. I told you there would be cake. Okay, in all seriousness, I'm gonna eat that cake. Maybe not tonight. I'll eat it tomorrow because I don't want to do it on camera or anything like that. Eating cake on camera, yeah, it's kind of rude and everything. And also, I didn't want to do the whole "Welcome to the 200th review extravaganza," doing it all of that because that's a bit cliche. But yep, this chapter. Pretty awesome chapter, although Mission Yotsukura kind of beat it for me this week because Mission Yotsukura was just so cute. I know the little doggy girl, okay. Go read that chapter, the most wholesome thing you'll ever see. But anyway, a couple of things I want to point out. First thing, this actually in response to last week's chapter where I completely misinterpreted the whole how did they get to Martin Garcia when they were in Ariax? Apparently, what happened and what makes sense is that they travelled down from Ariax to Martin Garcia because that's the way Stanley and his crew, after they abandoned the Perseus, got to Ariax. So that makes more sense, and Tai to travel back to Martin Garcia from Martin Garcia to Ariax to revive Maya and Charlotte and them lot. So okay, that makes sense. That's why I wanted to make up, and Sino used the cell phone to actually communicate with Maya from Martin Garcia. So okay, that clears all that up, and it explains the whole jumping between location thing in that chapter. So that makes sense. We can get that out of the way. I apologise for my ranting in the last video, but for now, let's just talk about chapter 200 because this has quite a few callbacks to earlier points in the series, most notably chapter 100, which we'll get into when we get into the chapter. So the chapter starts off with them going through the various phases of the actual building of the spaceship. So like Senku's going to be building the Perseus, Sinu's going to be building the rocket engine, which are the two. That's the basic starting point of the actual plan to actually get the spaceship to get to the moon, and Charles is going that, hang on a minute, we can't actually power the Perseus without oil, and there's no oil anywhere in South America. So what are we actually going to do? Which is an interesting point that they actually brought up, which people like such as myself failed to actually bring up last week. How are they actually going to power the Perseus without any actual oil to actually power the engines in the first place? And Ryusui even suggests that maybe we should start with a sailing ship again, and Senku's like, nah, screw that, we're going to future energy, we're going to future power, and Kawaku and Suika are getting really excited. Like, what's this future energy? What's this future power that you're talking about, dear Senku? That's right, we're going to be using raw stinking garbage. Yep, they're basically using poo to power this Perseus. I think Suika's face sums it up here, as Senku goes on to say, we'll call it biofuel, so bring all the organic garbage, toss in leaves, food, scrapes, poops, and collect the gas, and create the gas that leaks from the rotting heaps. Suika's reaction to this is, poop? Why poop again? Which you can only imagine, she's probably having flashbacks to when she actually had to use poo to get the revival through to revive Senku in the first place, and now she didn't actually want to go through all of that, so she's having poo PTSD in this moment. Suika. You've got a more funnier since growing up. Anyway, continuing on, again, it actually brings up that if the trash straw is giving off gas, won't it simply drift away? And Senku comes up with the idea of using a tanker to hold the gas, and Gen's like, I've seen this in tanks like that around factories and such, but crafting such a perfect spear, would that be difficult? As we get the title of the chapter, which is Future Energy. Future Energy. I'm sorry I didn't bring up the title of the chapter, but here it is. Dr. Stone chapter 200, titled Future Energy, which is obviously a reference to the future energy that Senku actually brought up in the chapter. Actually, it's an actual idea that Shonen Oji brought in one of his videos that he made a few days ago about the potential of Senku creating something that hasn't been invented yet. This could be actually this could actually be something, because he was mentioning in an interview that Inagaki said about would Senku make something that hasn't been invented yet, and Inagaki said yes he would, and this is probably the first step into that, into actually making something that hasn't been invented yet by using future energy. So basically using crap to power stuff. That's basically what it is. Anyway, after the title page, we see Kozuki actually making the sphere as against like, that's hardly a sphere shape, and it hardly is. But of course, Senku being Senku obviously has the answer to everything, and he's like, which is just fine for our purpose, just fill with water and cause an little explosion inside, and bam, there you've gone nice and round, all in the span of 2 panels, because I am Senku. As Gen's like, again, what the, is that really how they make the tank so round? And Mecha Senku is like, sure is. I love this series, I really do. When you get moments like that where you're like, wish you'd focus more on it, but you're Senku, so what can you do? And also, Polyrums did bring up a point on Twitter, or not Twitter, on Discord, that we're not getting focus on the peoples that were actually revived, but I think there is an actual reason to it. As he said in the Discord server as well, in the Control Chaos Discord server. But we'll get into that when we get into it further in the chapter. We cut over to Sinu, who is working on some sort of machine with Chrome, which is nice to actually see those two actually working together on a project by themselves without having Senku there. So that's a nice touch that we have there. And Gen is just getting freaked out by it as he asks Sinu what it is, and Sinu goes on to say, the heat of a standard furnace does not suffice for most super alloys, so we must melt them down with an electrical-based induction heater. And Gen's like, why do the power cables look more like hoses? And Sinu goes on to explain that they carry water as a coolant, otherwise the unfortunate heat would melt the cables themselves. So again, getting back to what makes this series actually great, getting scientific explanations and seeing scientific equipment that we normally take for granted actually being used to make relevant components to actually save the whole of humanity. And we cut back again to Senku and Suika, and I love this moment in the chapter. It's a very brief moment, but again, it shows that Suika is very much active, very much a part of the main group now that she's grown up, learned more scientific advancements herself, actually being more focused and actually being integrated more into sorry if it's going a little bit blurry there, guys. I don't know if it's me. I may check it out when I cut out this moment. But anyway, Suika actually becoming more integrated into the scientific advancements and actually playing her part in the series at this point, which is going to become very relevant when we get to the end of the chapter and what's actually going to happen moving forward. Okay, I might have to stop flapping my arms because I think that's gonna keep distracting me, or maybe it's just the focus. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, let's just roll with it as best we can. Hopefully, it's not too distracting, and hopefully, I'm not making a big deal of it. But anyway, continuing on with the chapter, as Gen sees this machine, he asks Senku what it is, and Senku goes on to Senku being Senku is like, says it in a very scientific way, which is the Fischgorio-Tropschico process. Guess that doesn't explain much. You guessed correctly. Yeah, it doesn't explain much, Senku. I mean, I love you, but you really need to put it in simple terms sometimes for people to actually understand. Even the smartest people can sometimes have no idea what you're going on about. But he goes on to explain the process was pioneered by the German military since they didn't have much oil to burn. You know how it goes: convenient raw garbage gas into liquid fuel. And Gen's like, I did not in fact know how it goes. But it was very interesting to get that little bit of history because I didn't know that. So very interesting to find out exactly what different cultures used in their military military forces to actually their machinery themselves. So that was very interesting to see there, and we get to see Chrome and Xenu working on all the materials that are extracted from the rocks, and by combining them into one, they can create the ultimate Perseus super alloy, which is known as Insomnia. So I guess we're not going to South Africa, even though it's been kind of hinted that Senku. It's been kind of hinted previously in previous chapters about Senku going to South Africa. Maybe that's going to happen, but it looks like my theory about the Insomnia is completely out of the window now. As we see, it's Nickel, Crow, basically all the materials that were gathered in the last chapter, basically being compressed down into creating the Insomnia super alloys. So I think they have got the 3 super alloys right now. If memory serves me, let's go back and look at that map quickly. Let's see. Oh no, they don't. They have okay. So they have the stainless steel and the Insomnia, but they don't have the Hester alloy. So maybe that's something that they do need to get as well. The Hester alloy. That's the last super alloy they need to get in order to complete this. So nice to see that we still have various objects to actually gather to actually at least get to level 99, as it will be explained later on. But Chrome goes on to say, after Xenu explains that this is what makes Rocket Engine possible, and Chrome says, "Wow, I've never heard of that one, but you're saying he's referring to the Insomnia that he's never heard of." But Xenu saying that it's strong and it's the baddest all around. As we get a really somber moment from Chrome as he's looking at all the metals and he's saying, "That's kind of wild. In just half a year, we've combined them all with science. This whole time, they've just been stones in the ground." And we're gonna get into why this is kind of a somber moment at the end of the chapter. It basically ends the chapter as we get the actual confirmed date at this moment in time in the series, which is April the 1st. 5750, and I did actually look this up myself, and yes, that is what is actually going to be when the world actually gets to 5750 in real time, thousands of years from when this video is actually made. That is real. That's a confirmed date. Wednesday, April 1st, 5750. It's not an April Fool's joke. That is legitimately what it is. Because we can see a 4 in the corner just slightly briefly after a 3 is passed, but that's the date we are at this moment in time. So it's nice to actually get in the timeline actually being consistent within the series itself. So nice to actually get that. So they've been alive again for about a few months at this point. So they probably so we could probably refer to Senku in September time, and they've spent a few months. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. In just half a year, we've combined them all. So it would be December, January, February, March, or November, December, January, February, March, April. So in November, she probably revived Senku. Yeah, I had to do a little bit of math there. So it was probably November 5749 that she actually revived Senku, and Poppycat has just walked in. Just bear with me, guys. Yeah, she's looking around here, and she's scuttling around, so bear with me. That was her jumping on the bed there, if you heard it. 1 second, guys. Yep, here she is, Poppycat. Oh, Poppy, say hi. Hello, everyone. I love my Lukey boy. Lasher Luke. Yeah, so we've got a kitty cat in the video, although it's not quite as funny. It's not quite as funny when. Actually, it's not funny at all. I don't know what I'm talking about here. But do you have anything to say for the viewers, Poppy? All right, I love you too. Yeah, she can be a bit. Crazy cat. Given that she's coming, given that it's funny because normally when I'm doing my videos she goes out of the room, and now she's coming when I'm doing my videos. So yeah, well, she's here now, and she's had her time in the spotlight. So let's get back to the review. Anyway, continuing on, we see Ryusui and Senku going over the plan as we see Kazuki making more materials to actually get this rocket engine powered up and get everything powered up, including the purses. He's probably working on the new purses. See, I knew it. Is she going? Is she going out? Like, seriously, she's coming round here right now, like, as I'm talking right now. See, she goes. She's going. Oh no, she's coming back. God. Didn't think this video would be interrupted by, would be stopped by a cat. Like, you could talk all day about science, but the cat's like, yeah, we want to talk for too, and it's like, no. I'm just gonna keep this in the video. I don't care. Are you gonna sit down or not? I'm serious, guys. She's not gonna sit down. Okay, let's just work around that. Anyway, so Kazuki is obviously working on the Perseus, as we get one of the funniest moments in the chapter where we see Tsukasa and Hyoga just bashing away, like, big guy coming through, let's get these materials, and Maya is like trying to get... Oh, 1 second. Okay, if you can hear some purring, that's her, that's Poppy in the background. Anyway, didn't expect that to happen, so yeah, let's just roll with it. Anyway, going back to the chapter, so Hyoga and Tsukasa are just bashing away at once, as we see Maya just being like, come on Giru, it's time for you to work, and Giru, being Giru, is like, let someone else do it, I don't want to do it, but I don't want to do it myself, as we see the flag of the Kingdom of Science basically being integrated into Super Alloy City. So it's like Super Alloy is officially a property of the Kingdom of Science now. As we cut to a few nights later, as we see a full moon. So probably in the middle of April at this point in the chapter, as we see a nice callback to Senku being a greenhouse person at this point, because he is struggling to carry a barrel as he does. But Taiju being Taiju is able to carry 3 barrels all at the same time. As Senku just flops the barrel down, he's like, so Sinu, how's your rocket engine going? And Sinu's just there being smug, like just sipping a coffee, and Poppy wants to go out. Like, seriously, she's been running around for the past like 5 minutes whilst I've been trying to do this with you. I'm gonna stop it right now and let her out. Okay, she is gone. Okay, she is gone now, and she probably has a sixth sense. She's probably like, oh, Luke's doing a review. Have to be out of the room, even though she can stay. I don't get her. But my guess is that she's probably like, Luke's busy, doesn't have time for a cuddle, so I'll best go upstairs, and everyone else is asleep in the house at this point. Anyway, continuing on, finally with the chapter, hopefully with no more disturbances, we see Sinu just drinking from a cup, drinking a coffee, and it is coffee, as we'll soon see, as he's like, and how's your liquid fuel? Do I even need to ask? And Senku's like, yeah, it's no problem on our end. And today's the day of unfailing and revealing the first test run. And contrary to the popular belief of Dr. Stone, quite possibly the first time this actually happened, the test goes off without a hitch. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. That rarely happens in this series. Like, first time it's a success. Oh, okay, yeah, great. First time it's a success. Perfect, fine. We can move on, and they're like, yeah, it's just like a real rocket jet. And CU's like, a gas turbine engine, to be precise. Lifting a spaceship will require endless improvements until we have a level 99 engine. So I reckon like levels 1 to 99 are just going to be test after test after test after test, and there's going to be probably mini roadmaps in between those tests. I mean, there's obviously has to be a roadmap for the computer. That's a new adventure that they have to make, and that's going to have a roadmap. I can guarantee you first hand that that's probably going to have a roadmap, because they'll probably have to have a roadmap to actually make a plug socket and make a lightning tower to actually contain that plug socket energy. That's probably something that's going to be, because I don't know how to make a plug socket. plug socket. So that's probably going to have a roadmap video itself on top of the computer, having a roadmap. So that'll be interesting to see. But Senku goes on to say, fair enough, but still, we finally taken the first real step towards a moon mission and confronting Rayman, as we see Senku and Xenu sipping on some Xenu books. Not Starbucks, Xenu books, which... You know how Senku has a lot of his face on a lot of the things, and people were saying, like, he probably got that from Xenu. Yeah, this is probably confirmation that he actually did get that, like, Xenu just having Xenu books. Yeah, let's not have Starbucks, we're having Xenu books. You know, there's some forms of merchandising that you never thought you would see, and yeah, here we are. Xenu books coffee holders. Get one for $19.99. Anyway, continuing on, they go on to say, humanity took thousands of years to achieve what we've created in a relatively blink of the eye. Well, you say relatively blink of the eye, it did take a few months to actually get to this point, but they say, I suppose, Senku, that from tomorrow, this task will lead us down different paths, and Senku's like, yeah, you're not wrong, as Koku and Taiju are like really worried about this, like, what does this actually mean, as we get the background of the moon. So we're about, I want to say we're in the 16th of April. We don't get a confirmation of the date, but it's probably around that day. And we cut to the next day where we get a callback to the first time they set sail, because in the first time we set sail, Ryusui was like, okay, this is the list of team that is coming with us on this expedition to South America before we had to take the detour to Treasure Island and then go back to Ishigami Village and then go to Konsei and then finally get to South America. So this is callback to that, as he says that we're splitting up into three teams. So this is a nice callback, and I love this, that they're splitting up to 3 teams, because it wavers out the cast even more to focus on, okay, these are the people that are coming, definitely part of the main cast, and these are the ones that are more of the supporting characters at this point, but are still going to play a really relevant role in the series so far. So a really relevant role in the series moving forward. So let's see what those teams are going to be. Ryusui, as Luna is freaking out, like, why do we have to split up and everything? Ryusui goes on to say that he gets it. Now that the city is right back on track, they would love to settle down a little and just basically relax and enjoy their lives for a little bit. But as they all know, everyone in the world, including Ishigami Village, Treasure Island, and North America, are all petrified. So that's the reason why they're going to be splitting up into 3 teams here. And Taiju's like, yeah, we've got to go and rescue Yusuria and everyone. So these are the teams. The one that's remaining in Super Alloy City is Xenu. Obviously, that makes sense. He's going to be working on the rocket engine. And we also have Maya, Charlotte, even though she's not shown here. I'm guessing she's going to be staying in South America with Maya and Xenu. But yeah, those two makes perfect sense. Maya obviously being the muscles and everything to gather the resources together. Tsukasa, perfect choice, because he can obviously keep an eye on Xenu and make sure, yeah, no funny business is actually gonna happen here, and he's gonna make sure that Xenu actually cooperates with them and make sure that he actually goes through with his mission and everything. And okay, it might just be my eyes. It really might just be my... Is it my eyes? Yeah, it might just be my eyes playing tricks on me. But anyway, Xenu, Maya, Tsukasa. Yeah, Tsukasa being there, that makes perfect sense. So they can keep an eye on Xenu. Ginru, that was a surprise that I was not expecting, because it's like Ginru, even though they're trying to leave him behind, he always keeps popping up, but this time I think it's permanent that he's going to actually stay there. And Pyjams might actually brought up quite an interesting idea of the fact that Ginru might stay behind because he feels guilty about them actually getting in the situation in the first place, because he actually made it slip to Stanley that they were actually heading to South America in the first place. So he might have a little bit of guilt on that front. So maybe that's the reason, but judging by his reaction of like, why do I have to stay with Tsukasa and Xenu and the people that were basically trying to kill me? Yeah, that's probably his reaction going through his mind right now. And Matsukaze staying there as Ginru's bodyguard makes perfect sense. The team that are going back to Corn City, which we'll get into a moment that actually had a lot of people confused at the moment. Sorry, my eyes. We're getting a lot of people. People were actually getting a lot of people confused. So the team returned to Corn City to revive their allies and get corn production back on track. that's the world spreading for Reviving Humanity. Basically, that team consists of Taiju, makes sense because he wants to go back to see Yuzuriya. Hyoga, again, perfect choice to keep him, Tsukasa, and Zenyu as far away from each other as possible. So perfect choice there. Ukyo, one of the five wise generals. Interesting that it was him, but I think there is actually a reason that might actually be coming up in future chapters. Luna, that's just hilarious that she's getting separated from Senku. She's like, tearing me apart, tearing me away from Senku, no! And Ginru and Gen actually said something that is like, well, actually, I suppose if it's okay then. Max and Carlos, which, to be fair, yeah, I can kind of see why they're going back. I mean, they haven't really done an awful lot in the series. I mean, Carlos has done driving, but Max, he was meant to be a warrior, but we never actually saw him fight anyone. So, yeah, them two. What I would have liked them to stay with the main group. I can kind of see why Inagaki chose to say, well, not really relevant to the story. They were just tagging along because Luna was part of the Kingdom of Science in the first place. So, yeah, makes sense for them to actually go back and not screw over with the dynamic of the core players in this story, which we'll get into with the main group. Now, Ukyo going back makes perfect sense because he's the pacifist, he's the one that wants to do negotiation rather than violence, and the teams in Corn City on the American side and the Kingdom side were all ready to kill each other, and they're probably still going to be all ready to kill each other when they're in fight. So bringing Ukyo back to calm that notion makes perfect sense. I have no problems with that, even though I kind of wish he would go. And actually, this might actually be a disadvantage for the Kingdom of Science, the main team that's going across the Atlantic, which I'll say in a minute, and I'll explain why in a second. But anyway, Gen, of course, said that Senku loves capable women who excel at their job, and then Luna's like, oh shucks, well, yeah, I'm fine with that. And Ryusui reveals the last team, which is going to be establishing the other cities, crossing the Atlantic and continuing around the globe while picking up resources for the spaceship on their way back to Japan as pioneers of the future. And I am really happy with this team. Like, got no complaints with it. Because obviously we've got the 5 main characters. Like, if you were to say to me, sit me down and say, who do you think the 5 main characters of Dr. Stone are? I would say Senku, Chrome, Gen, Kohaku, and Suika. Because those are the 5 that have played the most roles out of any characters in this series. Like, done the most. Suika, reviving, basically being the pioneer to revive everyone after the petrification. Senku, main character. Chrome, basically the antagonist at this point. Kohaku, main female lead, and Gen just being like another sidekick at this point. So those 5 make absolutely perfect sense to come along. Chelsea, surprisingly, thought was going to stay in Super Alloy C, but I'm glad she's coming on. She's got just a ball of energy. And Francois, obviously for the cooking. Ryusui because he's the captain of the Perseus, and Kasuki because he can build all that stuff. So those guys makes perfect sense. Although Perjans did say why didn't they bring Luna along, because she has amateur doctor abilities now. Well, Francois actually answered that question because she said that Suika has amateur doctor abilities now, and she probably has a lot more from her years of surviving on a road. So she's probably on the level at this point that Luna was. And actually, oh, my phone fell on the floor then. I tried to throw it on my bed, it fell on the floor. But anyway, Suika actually coming along this team completely adds to my fear of her going to be the jack of all trades, of being part of the science team and the power team, because really the only person now in the power team that's on the main group is Kohaku. Chrome, to a lesser extent, I mean, he does have some fighting prowess, but he's not really a fighter. But Suika could actually fill in that void and actually fill in some of the roles that some of the power team, including Taiju, Hyoga, and Tsukasa are leaving behind. And Ginru as well, like leaving them behind. And like I said, she'll probably inherit Kohaku's nerves and train with them. And also working alongside Senku to actually get more scientific know-how in her. That title page last week that focused on Suika, I reckon that is foreshadowing for what her again. That was not like picked up random. That was probably foreshadowing, like, okay, this is going to be Suika's main new role. She's going to be part of the power team, but she's also going to be part of the science team as well, because she's surrounded herself in armor and with weapons that were made specifically by the kingdom of science. So by the Kingdom of Science, by Senku with his scientific know-how as well. So that's probably going to be her role as well now with the Jack of all trades, and it makes perfect sense for her to have that role. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it. So the teams, I have absolutely no problem with this. Like I said, the main team, obviously the main cast of the series, plus the ones that I've had, focus, and the ones that have a really important role to play, like Francois, even though she's not had as much screen, or they've not had much screen time, they're still the cook that they actually need. Chelsea really came into her own and really helped out a lot in the last arc, so it makes sense for her to come along. Kazuki, big character, because without him, most of this stuff would be impossible. And Ryusui makes perfect sense. He's the navigator. He's the controller of the Perseus, the captain of the Perseus. But also, like I said, this could actually lead to problems down the line, because there are people that are out there that have revived after the second petrification while Suika was busy making the revival fluid. They might actually not detect that. They might actually not detect them at this point because they don't have Ukio's sonar. So that'll be interesting to see what comes up in the future. In the future, when the team actually reaches what the next destination is, whether that's going to be Math City, which I'll get into in a second. Now, obviously, they're going to be crossing the Atlantic. I reckon they're going to be going to Math City next, then Rubber City, then Aluminium City, then to Japan to unpetrify everyone, and then back to Super Alloy City. So they're going to go Europe, if it is in Europe, Math City, then Indonesia, then Australia, then up to Japan, and then back across the Pacific to South America. Or they're going to go Europe, then go around Africa, maybe stop in Africa to make Diamond City, like I've been saying, cross the Indian Ocean, make to Indonesia, then Australia, then Japan, and then back to Super Alloy City, and possibly Corn City as well, because it's along that route. But it's probably going to come full circle. Like the spaceship is going to be built in Super Alloy City because they need to get back there to get the rocket engine. But yeah, like I said, the teams make sense, and Ryusui's gonna and they're like, Gen's like, that was such a long. That's going to be such a long journey. How many years until we reach Japan again? And Ryusui's like, fear not, because the rocket engine we pour our blood, sweat, and tears into isn't just for the rockets. As we see the new design of the Perseus, which I'll bring it up here. Which that's the new design of the Perseus, and it's alright. It's an alright design. I personally like the old one a lot more. I mean, this one is more advanced, and it does make sense to have this new one because it's made of steel now, whereas the old one was made of wood and could easily rot. But now this one can't rot away, so it's gonna take time to get used to it. But the old one had a charm to it, and maybe we'll get some shots of them just exploring the new Perseus, like what we did with the old Perseus. But anyway, we see the new Perseus just rocket away from Super Alloy City as they're like, faster than expected. Dang, and Taji's like, dang, I was ready for a long teary goodbye, but then they're already out of sight. And Ukio says they can still keep in touch daily over the radio. Yeah, but you have to be careful of the Y-Man. If you get a Medusa working again and the Y-Man's message starts playing again, you have to be extremely careful, unless you use a Medusa to actually create the antenna that can actually block the radio wave coming from the Y-Man, in the same way that radio satellites couldn't pick up the Medusa actually falling from the moon in the first place. That may be a solution that they'll get through. We don't know. Maybe that will be the future invention that Senku comes up with, a radio antenna to block out radio waves using the Medusa itself. That would be something to look forward to. But yeah, a lot of people are saying, like, how is Taiju's team actually going to get back to Corn City? And I said, well, motorcycles with the rocket engine, even though that's probably going to take them a while as well to go from South America back to North America without the use of a boat. And Party Jan's even bring up the fact that they may actually build another boat to actually sail back up to Corn City using the new engine. We don't know. That's something that's going to have to be addressed later on, if ever it is addressed. But anyway, Ryusui goes on to say the old Perseus had us going at 4 knots with 300 horsepower, but this one, the super alloyed engine of the future, gives us 10,000 horsepower with a speed not with a speed of 20 knots, and what took them 40 days in the first place is actually going to take them less than a week, which I did a little bit of math, and yeah, that makes perfect sense. It takes just over a week with modern boats to actually get across the Atlantic to America, and that's the same distance as what it took over the Pacific Ocean. And Kawaku goes on to say, awe-inspiring. I never imagined a boat could be made at such speed, could make such speeds, and Senku was like, yeah, 5 times faster. Now, what were you saying at the beginning of the series about them just being rocks, Kawaku? This is the point I was alluded to at the earlier chapter. As Chrome goes on to say, "Bad, this engine might actually make us to the moon, working with nothing more than rocks in the ground." As he has flashbacks to working alongside everyone to collect the rocks and actually make it into what they are today. He starts crying his eyes out as Suika asks him why he's crying, and he doesn't know. It's hard to say. And we get the end of the chapter with Senku looking on as the new Perseus, the stainless steel Perseus, rides off into the horizon and says, and we get a caption saying, "Time crossed the Atlantic 1 week." Now, like I said, really good chapter, although I did like Mission Yotsukuro's a little bit more than this chapter. And that's not blasphemy against Dr. Stone, just that chapter was so damn cute. Anyway, we might get we might get one chapter next chapter on the Perseus itself, just going through their plans and just exploring the new Perseus in all its glory before we actually get to the new destination, because we still have no idea where they're actually going, like what city's actually going to be built up next and where it's actually going to be taking place. So that's something we need to know. Now, in terms of the ending of the chapter with Chrome, what I was alluded to is that like I said, when I made that jab at Kawaku and like just her saying they're just rocks, that's probably what Chrome was thinking about. Like every one of them, when he was collecting these rocks, people just thought, oh, these are just rocks, nothing's going to come out of them, they're just plain old rocks, what's so great about it? And now they're doing all of this with just rocks that he's probably collected as many rocks as they've used in many of the materials, and it's just overwhelming for him that the rocks that he's collected and the rocks that everybody basically just disregarded as just being nothing more than just a rock collection is actually going to be used to save all of humanity. And that's something that he didn't think in a million years could comprehend. That's what I'm interpreting as Chrome crying. Like, he's just so overwhelmed with joy, the fact that his rock collection is inspiring the future of humanity and actually saving it. So if that's what Inagaki's going for, that's amazing, and that's really powerful stuff. Although it would have been nice to actually have that flashback of Kawaku going, they're just rocks, when they first met Senku, and he was getting overexcited about lead and iron and copper and all of that. So that would have been the case, but I'm going to go with that Chrome is just getting overexcited that rocks that he found in the earth are actually the beneficial factor of saving humanity at this point. But yeah, that's all I've got to say in this chapter. So anyway, guys, what did you think of it? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lasher Luke signing off. Later, guys.